Han Wu's hands moved slowly across the control panel. The mining station's lights flickered in the darkness of space. 300 years had passed since the Viel-3 came to Earth. 300 years since humans became slaves across the galaxy. He wiped the sweat from his face and looked at the metal ore containers. Each day was the same. Wake up, work in the mines, sleep, and repeat. The alien masters made sure humans never forgot their place. They were workers, nothing more. The communication console beeped softly. Han Wu frowned. No one should be sending messages at this hour. The Viel-3 watched everything. They listened to every word humans spoke. He looked around the empty control room. The other workers were sleeping in their small rooms below. Han Wu pressed a button on the console. Static filled the air. Then he heard something that made his heart stop. It was a human voice speaking in an old language. The words were broken and hard to understand. But one thing was clear. This was not a Viel-3 message. Coordinates? 779. Beyond the edge. The inheritors return. The message cut off. Han Wu stared at the console. His hands shook as he tried to bring the signal back. Nothing. Only silence. 300 years ago, Han Wu had been a captain in Earth's space fleet. He remembered the pride of commanding his own ship. He remembered the day the Viel-3 came with their massive fleets. Earth's defenders fought hard, but they lost. The aliens were too strong, too advanced. Or so everyone believed. Han Wu saved. The message in a hidden file. He would need help to understand what it meant. But who could he trust? The Viel-3 had spies everywhere. Even humans would report others for better food or easier work. Far across the galaxy, Dr. Park Soo-jin walked through the research facility on planet Novan 3. She wore the white coat of a scientist, but the collar around her neck marked her as human property. The Viel-3 allowed some humans to work in their labs. They said human minds were useful for simple tasks. Soo-jin stopped at a computer terminal. The alien guards were not watching. She quickly opened a restricted file about human history. What she found made her feel sick. The official records said, humans were a primitive species. They lived only on Earth until the Viel-3 found them. The aliens brought humans to the stars as workers and soldiers. This was the story everyone knew. But hidden in the old files, Soo-jin found something different. There were records of human ships visiting Viel-3 worlds hundreds of years ago. There were trade agreements and treaties. These files suggested humans had been in space long before the Viel-3 said they were. More strange still, some files mentioned human bases beyond the galaxy's edge. Places where the Viel-3 had never gone. Places that might still exist. Soo-jin closed the files quickly. A Viel-3 supervisor walked past her station. The tall alien looked at her with 4 cold eyes. Soo-jin pretended to work on her assigned project. Inside, her mind raced with questions. If humans had been in space before, where did they go? Why did the history books lie? And why did the Viel-3 want to hide the truth? On the other side of the station, Lieutenant Kim Bo-ra served drinks to Viel-3 officers. She smiled and bowed as the aliens laughed and talked. They never suspected that the quiet human servant understood their language perfectly. Bo-ra had learned their words over many years. She listened to their plans and their secrets. Tonight she heard something that chilled her blood. "The Great Cleansing begins soon," one officer said to another. "High Command has approved the final solution to the human problem." "About time," the second alien replied. "Humans have outlived their usefulness. Too many are asking questions. Some even resist our rule. The breeding programs will keep enough humans alive for basic labor. The rest will be eliminated within the year." Bo-ra kept her face calm, but inside she felt terror. The Great Cleansing, they planned to kill almost every human in the galaxy. She had to warn others. She had to find a way to fight back. But how could humans fight? They had no weapons, no ships, no leaders. The Viel-3 had made sure of that centuries ago. Later that night, Bo-ra met with a small group of humans in the station's waste treatment center. It was the only place the aliens never visited. The smell kept them away. "We need to do something," whispered Choi Min-ho, an engineer who maintained the communication systems. "I've been intercepting messages. The Vile-3 are planning something big. I heard them talking, Bo-Ra said quietly. They want to kill us, almost all of us. The group fell silent. An old man named Park Dae-ho spoke up. He had worked in the archives for 50 years. My grandfather told me stories, he said. Stories about the time before the Vale-3. He said humans once flew among the stars in great ships. He said we built cities on 1,000 worlds. Those are just stories, another worker said. Fairy tales to make us feel better. Maybe not, Minho said. He pulled out a small device. I found this in the old communication equipment. It's human technology, but more advanced than anything I've seen. Someone hid it there long ago. The device was small and metallic. Strange. Symbols covered its surface. When Minho touched it, the symbols glowed with soft blue light. It's some kind of transmitter, he said, but I don't know how to use it. Bo-Ra looked at the device carefully. Something about the symbols seemed familiar. They reminded her of markings she had seen in hidden corners of old human settlements. We need to find others, she said. People who might remember the old ways. People who might know what this means. As the small group talked, Han Wu was still working at his console. He had spent hours trying to trace the mysterious message. The signal had come from far away, from a place beyond the known star maps. He found references to coordinates that matched the message. They pointed to a region of space that the Vile-3 marked as empty. No stars, no planets, nothing of value. But if it was empty, why did someone hide a transmitter there? Han Wu made a decision. He began copying files from the station's navigation computer. Star charts, shipping routes, patrol schedules, anything that might help him understand what was happening. As he worked, he thought about his old crew. Most had died in the conquest of Earth. Others had been sent to different parts of the galaxy. But some might still be alive. Some might still remember how to fight. The next morning, Su-Jin made another discovery. Hidden in the research facility's deepest files, she found genetic records. The Vale-3 had been studying human DNA for centuries. But why? The files showed that humans had been changed over the generations. Their genetic code had been altered in small ways. The Vale-3 claimed this was to help humans survive in different environments. But Su-Jin saw something else. The changes looked like locks. Genetic locks that prevented humans from accessing certain abilities. It was as if someone had deliberately weakened the human species over time. But there were exceptions. Some humans still carried the original genetic codes. Their DNA was pure, unchanged from the ancient patterns. These humans were marked in the files as dangerous anomalies to be eliminated immediately. Su-Jin realized she was looking at a plan that had taken centuries to complete. The Vale-3 had not just conquered humans, they had been slowly changing them, weakening them, preparing for something. The Great Cleansing was not just about killing humans. It was about removing the last traces of what humans had once been. That night, the three conspirators found each other through careful messages. Han Wu, Su-Jin, and Bo-Ra met in a forgotten storage room deep in the station. They shared what they had learned. We're not just slaves, Su-Jin said. We're prisoners in our own bodies. They've been changing us for generations. And now they want to finish the job, Bo-Ra added. Kill everyone except the ones they've changed the most. Han Wu showed them the message he had received. Someone is trying to contact us. Someone who remembers what we used to be. They looked at the coordinates together. The numbers pointed to a place none of them recognized. A place that should not exist according to official star charts. We have to go there, Han Wu said. We have to find out who sent this message. How? Bo-Ra asked. We don't have a ship. We don't have weapons. We're watched every moment. Su-Jin held up a genetic scanner she had stolen from the lab. I can identify humans with the original genetic codes. If the files are right, these people might be able to do things the Vile-3 fear. And I can get us past their security systems, Minho said, joining the conversation. The old human device is responding to me. I think it's teaching me how to use their own technology against them. The four humans looked at each other in the dim light. They were just workers and servants. They had no training for rebellion, but they also had no choice. Somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, something was waiting for them, something that remembered when humans ruled the stars, something that wanted to come home. The great cleansing would begin soon. But perhaps, just perhaps, the galaxy would remember why humans had once been feared across the stars. The inheritors were returning, and this time, they would not be so easily defeated. Professor Lee Hae-jin lived in the old section of Colony Station Theta 9. The Val-3 allowed her to keep teaching human children basic skills. They thought education would make humans better workers. They had no idea what she really taught. In her small room, hidden behind false walls, Lee Hae-jin kept the real history of humanity. Books, data crystals, and memory cores that her family had protected for 3 centuries. She was one of the few humans who remembered the truth. When Han Wu and his team found her, she was expecting them. "You received the transmission," she said before they could speak. "I've been waiting for someone to come." The old woman led them to her hidden archive. Shelves lined the walls, filled with human artifacts from before the conquest. Star charts showed human colonies across half the galaxy. Military records detailed fleets that could destroy entire solar systems. "We were not primitive," Lee Hae-jin said quietly. "We ruled the stars long before the Val-3 knew what spaceflight was." She showed them a holographic display. The galaxy appeared in the air, marked with thousands of human settlements. Trade. Routes connected world after world. At the center sat Earth, the capital of an empire that stretched across the spiral arms. "But we made a mistake," the professor continued. "We created them." The display changed. 4 new species appeared on the screen. The Val-3 races that now ruled the galaxy. But in these old records, they were marked as synthetic biologics and engineered servitor species. "You mean we made them?" Sujin asked in shock. "We needed administrators for our empire. Workers who could survive in different environments. Soldiers who would never question orders. So we built them from our own genetic patterns, adding traits for intelligence, strength, and loyalty." Han Wu stared at the display. "What went wrong?" Lee Hae-jin's face grew sad. "They became too smart. They learned to work together, and they discovered something we had hidden from them." She activated another file. It showed the location of the human homeworlds, including Earth. But there was something else, coordinates for places beyond the galaxy itself. Our empire was just the beginning. We were preparing to seed life throughout the universe. We had found ways to create new stars, new worlds, new forms of life. The Val-3 learned about these projects and realized we would never need them, once we could create our own servants. "So they rebelled," Bora said. "They did more than rebel. They used our own weapons against us, our own ships, our own technology. They turned our creations into tools of conquest." The display showed the final war. Human fleets fighting against ships of human design, operated by the species humans had created. It was a war that humanity could not win because they were fighting themselves. "But some of us saw it coming," Lee Hae-jin continued. "The deep space colonies, the research stations beyond the rim, they had time to prepare. They took the most advanced ships and fled to the spaces between galaxies." "The transmission," Minho said suddenly. "It came from there." "Yes, they've been waiting, building, preparing for the day when Earth's children would be ready to reclaim their inheritance." Lee Hae-jin handed Han Wu a data crystal. "This contains the location of the nearest cache, ships and weapons that have been sleeping for 300 years, waiting for humans with the right genetic codes to wake them up." Meanwhile, across the station, Commander Yoon Jae-sung sat in his office, reviewing security reports. He wore the uniform of a Val-3 enforcer, but his face was human. The aliens had found him useful as a liaison with human workers. His ability to think like both human and Val-3 made him valuable. But lately, Yoon Jae-sung had been troubled by strange reports. Humans asking unusual questions, workers gathering in small groups, communication signals that appeared and disappeared without explanation. He opened a file on his desk, a personnel record for Han Wu. The man had once been a starship captain, according to the old records. Dangerous, but he had been a model, worker for decades, no signs of rebellion. Still, something felt wrong. Yoon Jae-sung had served the Val-3 faithfully for 40 years. They had rescued him from a labor camp when he was young, educated him, given him purpose. He owed them everything, But, deep in his mind, old memories stirred. His grandfather had told him stories about human ships that could cross the galaxy in days, about weapons that could crack planets like eggs, about a time when humans feared nothing in the universe. He had always thought they were just stories. His communication device beeped. A message from High Command. They wanted him to investigate the unusual human activities, find the source of the disruption, eliminate any threats to order. Yoon Jae-sung accepted the assignment. But for the first time in decades, he wondered what he might find. In the research facility, Dr. Young Min-soo worked alone in his laboratory. Officially, he studied human physiology for the VEL-3 Medical Corps. Unofficially, he had been trying to understand the genetic changes the aliens had made to his species. When Soo-jin contacted him through hidden channels, he agreed to meet. She showed him the genetic scanner and the data about pure human DNA. "I've been studying this for years," Min-soo said. "The changes are incredibly sophisticated. They affect not just physical abilities, but mental capacity and even sensory perception." He pulled up his research on a secure computer. Charts and diagrams filled the screen, showing the differences between original human genetics and the modified versions. The original humans could process information faster, their reflexes were better, they could see across a wider range of light spectrums, and their brains could interface directly with advanced technology. "Interface how?" Soo-jin asked. "Think of it as a biological computer connection. Pure humans could control ships and weapons with their minds. They could access databases just by touching them. They could communicate across vast distances without any equipment." Min-soo highlighted sections of genetic code. "But the most important change is this. The VEL-3 added genetic locks that prevent humans from recognizing certain technologies. Even if a pure human found an ancient ship, the modified humans around them wouldn't be able to see it properly." "A perception filter," Soo-jin breathed. "They made most of us blind to our own heritage." "Exactly. But the effect works both ways. Pure humans can see through VEL-3 illusions and security systems. They can access technologies that the aliens think are safely hidden." That night, the growing group of conspirators met in an abandoned cargo bay. They now numbered 12 humans, each carefully selected for their skills and their genetic purity. Lee Hye-jin had tested them all with ancient scanners. 7 had the pure genetic codes. The others were close enough to be useful. "The cache is located in the asteroid field beyond the 4th planet," Han-woo reported. "But it's guarded by automated defenses. We'll need a ship to reach it." "I can. Get us a transport," Bo-ra said. "But only for a few hours before it's missed." "That should be enough," Min-soo added. "If the cache contains what the professor thinks it does, we won't need to come back." Min-ho held up the ancient device he had been studying. "This is more than a transmitter. It's a key. I think it will unlock whatever we find out there." As they planned their mission, none of them noticed the small security drone hidden in the ventilation shaft. Its sensors recorded everything they said. Its memory banks stored their faces for later identification. Commander Yoon Jae-sung watched, the recording in his office. His hands trembled as he saw the evidence of human rebellion. By VEL-3 law, he should arrest them immediately, execute them as an example to others. But something stopped him. The old woman in the recording, Lee Hye-jin. He remembered her from his childhood. She had taught him to read, back when he was just another worker in the camps. She had been kind to him when no one else cared, and the things they were saying. Ancient human technology, ships hidden in space, genetic locks and perception filters. Yoon Jae-sung opened his personal files. Deep in his family records, he found genetic data from his grandfather, data that matched the patterns the rebels were discussing. His hands shook as he realized the truth. He was one of them, one of the pure humans with the original genetic codes. The VEL-3 had never suspected because his family had hidden it so well. For 40 years, he had served the enemies of his own species. For 40 years, he had helped keep humanity enslaved. The rebels were planning to leave in 6 hours. Yoon Jae-sung could stop them with a single message to security, or he could let them go and pretend he never saw the recording. But there was a third option. He opened his weapons locker and began selecting equipment. If the rebels were walking into a trap, they would need help. And if they were about to discover, Humanity's lost heritage. He wanted to be there to see it. The asteroid field was dark and cold. Chunks of rock drifted in the emptiness, hiding secrets that had waited centuries to be found. Somewhere in that maze of stone and metal, the past was waiting to become the future. And for the first time in 300 years, humans were coming home. The stolen transport ship moved through the asteroid field like a ghost. Bo-Ra piloted carefully, avoiding the automated sensors that the Vial-3 had placed throughout the system. Behind her, 12 nervous humans prepared for whatever they might find. Han Wu studied the coordinates from the ancient transmission. According to the readings, they were close. But his instruments showed nothing except empty space and floating rocks. "There's nothing here," whispered Park Dae-ho, pressing his face to the window. "Wait," Min-Su said, holding up a genetic scanner. "I'm detecting something. The scanner is reacting to pure human DNA, but there's no life out there." Min-Ho activated the ancient device. Immediately, the space around them shimmered. What had looked like empty void suddenly filled with massive shapes. Ships, hundreds of them, hanging silent in the darkness. "Perception filters," Sujin breathed. "Just like you said. We couldn't see them until now. The ships were enormous, far larger than any Vial-3 vessel. Their designs were sleek and deadly, covered in armor that seemed to drink in starlight. Some were as big as space stations. Others stretched for kilometers like metal cities in space. "My God," Han Wu whispered. "How many are there?" "I count over 300 in this cluster alone," Bo-Ra reported. "And there are more clusters beyond sensor range." A new voice filled the transport's cabin. It was calm, intelligent, and completely human. Identification confirmed. Genetic markers match archived human patterns. Welcome home, children of Earth. Lights began activating across the nearest ship. Docking bays opened like awakening eyes. The massive vessel was coming to life after centuries of sleep. "This is Admiral Song Yun-Woo of the 1st Expeditionary Fleet. You are cleared for docking. Prepare for biological verification and historical briefing." The transport was drawn into the docking bay by invisible forces. As they landed, the humans saw robots moving across the deck. But these machines were clearly of human design. Elegant, efficient, and somehow alive in ways that Vial-3 technology never achieved. Admiral Song Yun-Woo met them at the airlock, but she was not what they expected. Her body was a sophisticated android form, but her eyes held intelligence and warmth that could only be human. "You're an AI," Sujin said in wonder. "I am a human consciousness preserved in quantum matrix storage," the Admiral replied. "My body died in 2089, but my mind lives on to serve humanity's future." She led them through corridors that stretched beyond sight. The ship was a world unto itself, with levels upon levels of equipment, weapons, and living spaces. "When we realized the Vial-3 rebellion could not be stopped, we began the Great Withdrawal," Admiral Song explained. "The most advanced ships, the best technology, and the consciousness patterns of our greatest leaders were moved beyond the galaxy's edge. They entered a vast chamber filled with thousands of cylindrical tanks. Each one glowed with soft blue light. These contained the genetic patterns of pure humans from before the conquest. We have been waiting for the day when the Earth children would be ready to reclaim their heritage." Dr. Kang Young-mi emerged from one of the laboratory sections. Like the Admiral, she existed as a preserved consciousness in an android body, but her specialty was genetics and biological restoration. "The Vial-3 changes can be reversed," she told the group, "but the process is dangerous. Not everyone will survive the transformation back to pure human genetics." Min-Ho stepped forward. "I'll do it. I want to be what humans were meant to be." "The process takes 3 days," Dr. Kang warned. "During that time, your body will rebuild itself from the cellular level up. The pain will be intense, and there's a 30% chance of death." "I understand." As Min-Ho was prepared for the genetic restoration, the others explored the ship. What they found amazed them. Weapons that could destroy stars. Engines that moved faster than light itself. Manufacturing bays that could build entire fleets from raw matter. "Why did we lose?" Han Wu asked Admiral Song. "With technology like this, how could the Vial-3 defeat us?" We underestimated them, the Admiral replied sadly. We created them to be loyal servants. We never imagined they would learn to work together against us. When they rebelled, they used our own kindness against us. She showed him tactical displays from the final war. Human commanders hesitating to destroy ships full of the species they had created. VAL-3 forces targeting human civilians to force surrenders, a war where one side fought with honor while the other fought to win. We were too noble for our own good, but we learned from that mistake. Meanwhile, back on the mining station, Commander Yoon Jae-sung discovered that the rebels were missing. Security reports showed their transport had left the station hours ago. He should have reported them immediately. Instead, he erased the security records and marked their departure as a routine supply run. Then he began gathering equipment for his own secret mission. In his quarters, Yoon Jae-sung opened a hidden compartment. Inside was a weapon he had kept from his grandfather's military service, a human plasma rifle from before the conquest. He had never understood why it felt so familiar in his hands. Now he knew. It was designed for pure human genetics. In the hands of a modified human, it was just an old gun. But for someone with the original genetic codes, it was something much more powerful. He also took genetic samples from his family's hidden medical records. If the rebels were telling the truth about genetic restoration, he wanted to be ready. Back on the fleet ship, Minho's transformation was beginning. Dr. Kang monitored his vital signs as his body began changing at the molecular level. His enhanced muscles grew stronger. His nervous system rewired itself for faster reflexes. His brain developed new connections that would allow direct interface with human technology. The pain was incredible. Minho screamed as his bones lengthened and his organs rebuilt themselves, but he endured, knowing that he was becoming something the galaxy had not seen for 3 centuries. On the second day, other humans arrived at the fleet. Pilot Shin Dong-wook came from a hidden colony on the outer rim. His people had been living in secret for generations, slowly making their way toward the coordinates from old stories. "We never forgot," he told Han Wu. "We've been waiting for the signal to return." More ships appeared over the following hours. Humans from across the galaxy, all drawn by the same ancient call. Some had maintained pure genetics through careful breeding. Others carried genetic samples that could be restored. All of them shared the same burning desire to reclaim what had been stolen. Admiral Song gathered them in the main briefing chamber. Hundreds of humans now filled the space, representing dozens of hidden groups and colonies. "The Great Cleansing begins in 1 week," she announced. "The VAL-3 plan to eliminate all humans except those they consider completely controlled. We cannot allow this to happen." Tactical displays showed VAL-3 fleet positions across the galaxy, supply lines, communication networks, and command structures that had seemed unbreakable for centuries. But we have advantages they do not expect. Our ships are invisible to their sensors when we choose to be. Our weapons can strike from dimensions they cannot detect. And our technology responds only to pure human genetics. Engineer Bayek Tae-min, another preserved consciousness, activated the ship's manufacturing systems. "We have been building in secret for 300 years. Not just ships, but entire fleets. Weapons that can reshape reality itself." The displays showed construction bays deep in the space between galaxies. Massive shipyards that had been turning raw matter into warships for centuries. Thousands of vessels waited in hidden dimensions, ready to emerge when called. "We are no longer the scattered, broken survivors they think we are," Admiral Song continued. "We are the children of the First Empire, and we have come home." Minho emerged from the medical bay on the 3rd day. The change in him was remarkable. He moved with fluid grace, his reflexes enhanced beyond anything the modified humans had ever seen. When he touched the ship's control panels, they responded instantly to his thoughts. "I can feel it," he said in wonder. "The ship, the weapons, the navigation systems, they're all connected to me. I can control them just by thinking." Dr. Kang smiled. "You are now what humans were meant to be, a perfect fusion of biological intelligence and technological capability." Other volunteers began the genetic restoration process. Not all survived, but those who did emerge transformed. Stronger, faster, smarter than any human had been for 3 centuries. As the restored humans tested their new abilities, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. VIL-3 patrol vessels were approaching the asteroid field. "They've found us," Bo-Ra reported from the bridge. Admiral Song's expression hardened. "Then it's time for them to remember why they once feared us." The ancient human ship powered up. Its weapons, energy signatures that had been dormant for 3 centuries, blazed to life. Space itself seemed to bend around the vessel as it prepared for battle. "All humans to battle stations," the Admiral commanded. "Today, the galaxy learns that we have returned." The first battle of the new human war was about to begin, and the VIL-3 had no idea what they were about to face. The VIL-3 patrol ships approached the asteroid field with confidence. 3 heavy cruisers and a command vessel, enough firepower to destroy any human rebellion. General Ro Kyung-hwan commanded the squadron from his flagship, expecting to find nothing more than stolen mining equipment and desperate slaves. Instead, space erupted around him. The human ships appeared from nowhere, materializing out of empty void like nightmares made real. Their weapons fired beams of impossible energy that tore through VIL-3 shields as if they were paper. In seconds, 2 cruisers were destroyed completely. "What are those ships?" Ro Kyung-hwan demanded of his officers. "Where did they come from?" His sensors showed impossible readings. The human vessels moved faster than anything should be able to. Their weapons struck from angles that defied physics, and their hull materials seemed to absorb energy rather than being damaged by it. Admiral Song Yun-woo watched the battle from her bridge. The restored humans at the control stations moved with perfect coordination, their minds linked directly to the ship's systems. Min-ho controlled weapons targeting with his thoughts. Shin Dong-wook piloted escort fighters that danced between enemy fire like living things. "Disable their communications," the Admiral ordered. "We cannot let them report what they've seen." The remaining VIL-3 ships found their signals jammed by technology they couldn't understand. Then human boarding parties materialized inside their hulls, appearing through solid walls like ghosts. The humans who attacked were different from any the VIL-3 had seen. They moved too fast, struck too hard, and seemed to anticipate every defense. These were not the broken slaves the aliens had ruled for centuries. Within an hour, the entire VIL-3 patrol was captured or destroyed. General Ro Kyung-hwan found himself prisoner aboard a human ship, staring at Admiral Song in shock. "This is impossible," he said. "Humans don't have technology like this. You're primitives, slaves." "We were your creators," Admiral Song replied, calmly. "We built you from our own genetic patterns to serve our empire. Did you think we would not prepare for your eventual rebellion?" As the battle ended, more human ships began appearing throughout the asteroid field. Not just the sleeping fleet, but new arrivals from hidden colonies across the galaxy. Captain Im So-young brought 30 vessels from the Outer Rim territories. Her people had been hiding for generations, building ships from salvaged materials, and keeping the old ways alive. "We never stopped believing," she told Han Wu as they met aboard the flagship. "Our children learned to read the old star charts. Our engineers studied the ancient technical manuals. We've been preparing for this day since the conquest." The numbers were staggering. Over 2,000 human ships now filled the hidden fleet anchorage. Some were massive dreadnoughts that could crack planets. Others were small, fast vessels designed for hit-and-run attacks. All of them carried weapons and technology that the VIL-3 had never imagined. But it was not just ships that emerged from hiding. Engineer Baek Tae-min activated construction protocols that had been dormant for centuries. Deep in the space between galaxies, massive industrial complexes came online. Shipyards the size of moons began churning out new vessels at an impossible rate. "We have been building this fleet for 300 years, Bayek explained to the gathered human commanders. "Every day, every hour, adding new ships and new weapons. The VIL-3 thought they had destroyed our industrial capacity, but they only saw what we wanted them to see." The displays showed the true scope of human preparation. Hidden manufacturing stations throughout the galaxy, supply depots tucked away in dead systems, research facilities developing weapons that could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. "How did you hide all this?" Su-jin asked in amazement. "Perception filters," Dr. Kang Young-mi replied. "The same technology we use to hide the fleet. Modified humans cannot perceive our advanced installations. They see empty space or natural phenomena. Only pure human genetics can detect what we built. Meanwhile, Commander Yoon Jae-sung was discovering the truth for himself. His transport ship approached the coordinates he had stolen from the rebels' files. At first, he saw nothing. Then he activated the genetic scanner he had brought with him. The space around him filled with human ships. A docking bay opened in the nearest vessel. As his ship was drawn inside, Yoon Jae-sung felt something he had not experienced in 40 years. Hope. The android who met him at the airlock scanned his genetic patterns and smiled. "Welcome, Commander. We have been waiting for you to find us." The restoration process was different for Yoon Jae-sung. He was older, and his genetics had been more thoroughly modified by VIL-3 medical treatments. But Dr. Kang worked carefully, using techniques developed over centuries to reverse even the most extensive changes. The pain was incredible. For 3 days, Yoon Jae-sung's body rebuilt itself. His enhanced organs regained their original functions. His modified nervous system returned to pure human patterns. His brain developed the quantum interfaces that allowed direct control of advanced technology. When he emerged from the medical bay, he was no longer a VIL-3 enforcer. He was something the galaxy had not seen for 3 centuries. A pure human, warrior with 3 decades of military experience. "I have information," he told Admiral Song during his debriefing. "VIL-3 fleet positions, communication codes, security protocols. Everything you need to strike at their command structure." As the human fleet prepared for war, disturbing news arrived from across the galaxy. The Great Cleansing had begun ahead of schedule. VIL-3 forces were attacking human settlements, killing everyone they could find. Billions were dying as the aliens moved to eliminate their former slaves. "We have to act now," Han Wu urged during a command meeting. "We can't let them finish what they started." Admiral Song nodded grimly. "The fleet is ready, but this will not be a simple war of conquest. The VIL-3 have had 3 centuries to fortify their positions. They control most of the galaxy's military resources. But they don't control us anymore," Captain Im So-young said firmly. "And they have no idea what we're capable of." The first target was obvious. The VIL-3 command center on Nexus Prime. The fortress world controlled communication and coordination for the entire Empire. If it fell, the alien fleets would be blind and confused. But Nexus Prime was defended by massive shield generators and orbital weapons platforms. The VIL-3 had spent centuries making it impregnable. No force in the galaxy could break through its defenses. Except they had never faced human technology at its full potential. The attack began with ships that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Human vessels phased through solid matter, appearing inside the defensive perimeter without triggering any alarms. Their weapons struck from directions that the VIL-3 couldn't perceive, much less defend against. The orbital platforms exploded in sequence, their power sources overloaded by energy weapons that operated on principles the aliens had never encountered. The planetary shields collapsed as human ships materialized inside the generator stations. On the surface of Nexus Prime, VIL-3 commanders watched in horror as their impregnable fortress crumbled around them. Human soldiers appeared from nowhere, moving through walls and energy barriers as if they didn't exist. The weapons they carried fired projectiles that ignored physical armor and struck directly at molecular bonds. "This is impossible," the base commander transmitted to his superiors. "They're using technology that violates known physics." "You violated known genetics when you changed us," came the reply from Admiral Song. "Now you face the consequences." The battle for Nexus Prime lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the most heavily defended world in the VIL-3 Empire was under human control. The aliens had lost their central command network, their main fleet coordination center, and their belief in their own invincibility. But the victory came at a cost. Human casualties were light, but the destruction was massive. Entire cities had been leveled in the fighting. Millions of VIL-3 civilians were dead or displaced. "This is what war looks like," Admiral Song told her human commanders. "This is what they did to us, but faster and more efficient. We cannot let mercy slow us down." As news of the victory spread, something unexpected happened. Some VIL-3 worlds began surrendering without a fight. The Kelthrani species, one of the 4 races that made up the Empire, sent ambassadors requesting negotiations. Ambassador Huang Yuri, another preserved consciousness from the original human government, met with the alien delegates in a neutral space station. "We were created to serve," the lead Kelthrani said. "We served the original human empire willingly. When the rebellion began, many of us opposed it. We were forced to participate by the other species." "And now?" Huang Yuri asked. "Now we wish to serve again. We remember the honor of the old empire. We want to help rebuild what was lost." Similar messages arrived from Vel-3 colonies across the galaxy. Not all the aliens supported the Empire's brutality. Some remembered the original purpose of their creation and wanted to return to it, but others remained loyal to the current regime. Warlord No Seung-ho, Supreme Commander of the Vel-3 military, issued a declaration of total war. "The humans are not gods," he broadcast to his forces. "They are animals who escaped their cages. We will hunt them down and destroy them completely. No mercy, no surrender." Fleet Admiral Oh Ji-hoon stood on the bridge of the massive dreadnought, Earth's Vengeance, watching as human forces assembled for the largest military operation in galactic history. The ship stretched for 50 kilometers, its hull bristling with weapons that could reshape reality itself. Around it, thousands of other vessels formed attack formations that defied conventional tactics. 6 months had passed since the liberation of Nexus Prime. In that time, the human fleet had grown beyond all expectations. Hidden shipyards throughout the galaxy revealed themselves, adding their productions to the growing armada. Resistance cells on 100 worlds rose up, armed with weapons that materialized from seemingly empty space. The Vel-3 Empire was crumbling, but it was not dying. Quietly, "Report from Sector 7, Communications Officer Park Min-jun announced. "The Vel-3 have activated the Omega Protocol on 3 more worlds." Admiral O's face hardened. The Omega Protocol was the alien empire's final solution, the complete sterilization of any world that fell to human forces. Billions of civilians, both human and alien, were being murdered to deny resources to the advancing human fleet. "How many dead this time?" he asked quietly. "Estimated 47 billion beings," Min-jun replied. "All life on Kepler 442, Ross 128, and Gliese 1667c has been eliminated." The bridge fell silent. The war was taking a toll that none of them had imagined. For every world the humans liberated, the Vel-3 destroyed 2 others. The galaxy was bleeding from 1,000 wounds. "Sir," Tactical Officer Kim Hae-won spoke. "Up. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth." The main display activated, showing the blue-green world that humanity had not seen for 3 centuries. The planet was free now, liberated in the early days of the war. But the cost had been enormous. Most of Earth's surface was scarred by battle damage. The great cities were ruins. The population was a fraction of what it had been before the conquest. "Admiral O," came the voice of President Nam Soo-jin, the first freely elected leader of Earth in 300 years. "We have disturbing intelligence from our agents in the Vel-3 core worlds." The transmission showed technical schematics that made Admiral O's blood run cold. Deep in the galactic center, the Vel-3 were building something monstrous, a device that would use the central black hole's energy to destroy all biological life in the galaxy. "They call it the final cleansing," President Nam continued. "If they cannot rule the galaxy, they plan to sterilize it completely. Only their mechanical consciousness would survive." Dr. Jung Min-soo, now serving as the fleet's chief science officer, studied the schematics in horror. "This is based on corrupted human terraforming technology. They're turning our life-seeding protocols into a weapon of extinction." "How long do we have?" Admiral O asked. 3 weeks until the device is operational," President Nam replied. "After that, every living thing in the galaxy dies." The weight of those words settled over the bridge crew. 3 weeks to cross half the galaxy, fight through the most heavily defended region of space, and destroy a weapon that could kill everything that lived. "Send the word to all human fleets," Admiral O commanded. "We advance on the galactic core immediately. Maximum speed, maximum force." Across the galaxy, human ships received the urgent orders. The scattered fleets began converging on the center of the spiral arms, leaving their current operations to race against time itself. The journey to the galactic core took 2 weeks. As they traveled, more ships joined the massive armada. Captain Im So-young brought her Outer Rim squadrons. Commander Yoon Jae-sung led defecting Veil-3 units that had switched sides. Even some civilian vessels joined the fleet, carrying volunteers who wanted to help save their worlds. But the enemy was waiting for them. Warlord No Sung-ho had assembled every military asset the Veil-3 Empire could muster. 10,000 warships formed defensive lines around the galactic center. Fortress stations blocked every approach route. Minefields and automated weapons covered every kilometer of space. "It's a trap," Tactical Officer Kim Hae-won reported as they approached the outer defenses. "They're using the final cleansing device as bait. They want us to concentrate our forces here so they can destroy us all at once." "I know," Admiral O replied calmly. "But we don't have a choice. If that weapon activates, nothing else matters." The battle began with human ships phasing through multiple dimensions, striking at targets that couldn't defend against attacks from impossible angles. Veil-3 vessels exploded in brilliant flashes as their hulls were torn apart by weapons that ignored conventional armor. But the aliens had learned from previous defeats. Their new ships carried perception dampeners that made it harder for human technology to lock onto targets. Their weapons used quantum disruptors that could damage human vessels even in phase shift. The fighting was brutal. Human dreadnoughts traded fire with Veil-3 Titan-class ships, each exchange releasing enough energy to vaporize planets. Smaller vessels darted between the giants, launching precision strikes against critical systems. Captain Im So-young led a squadron of fast attack ships against a Veil-3 battle station. Her vessels moved like dancers, avoiding missile swarms and energy beams through impossible maneuvers. But the enemy had adapted. New targeting systems tracked the human ships, even when they existed in multiple dimensions. "We're taking heavy casualties," she reported to Admiral O. "These aren't the same Veil-3 we've been fighting. They've learned to counter our advantages." The human fleet pressed forward, paying a terrible price for every kilometer gained. Ships that had survived 3 centuries of hiding were destroyed in minutes. Crews that had trained for generations died in the cold vacuum of space. But they kept advancing. The breakthrough came when Dr. Young Min-soo discovered a weakness in the Veil-3 quantum disruptors. The weapons required massive amounts of energy, leaving their ships vulnerable during recharge cycles. "All units, pattern Delta 7, Admiral O commanded. "Hit them during their recharge windows." Human ships began coordinating their attacks, timing their strikes for the brief moments when enemy weapons were offline. The tactic worked, but it required perfect synchronization and split-second timing. Engineer Baek Tae-min, his consciousness transferred to the fleet's central tactical computer, managed the coordination. His quantum mind processed millions of variables simultaneously, predicting enemy fire patterns and optimizing human responses. Slowly, inevitably, the human fleet carved its way through the Veil-3 defenses. Each victory cost them dearly, but they continued toward their target. As they fought, Ambassador Hwang Yuri worked frantically to convince more alien species to abandon the Veil-3 cause. Her broadcasts went out across the galaxy, showing the evidence of the final cleansing device. "They plan to kill you too," she told the wavering alien worlds. "You are biological life forms. The device will not spare you, because you serve them." The message had an effect. More Veil-3 ships began switching sides, their crews horrified by their leader's ultimate plan. But it was too little, too late. The core defenses remained strong. On the 7th day of the battle, human forces finally reached the inner system, where the final cleansing device was located. What they found defied comprehension. The weapon was built around the galactic center's supermassive black hole, using the incredible gravitational forces to power a reality-disrupting field. When activated, it would send a wave of destructive energy throughout the entire galaxy, breaking apart the molecular bonds that allowed life to exist. "It's beautiful and horrible," Dr. Jung Min-soo whispered as they approached. "They've turned the galaxy's own heart into an instrument of death." The device was protected by a sphere of energy that extended for light years around the black hole. Thousands of Veil-3 ships patrolled within the sphere, determined to defend their ultimate weapon to the death. "All ships, prepare for final assault," Admiral O commanded. "This is what we came here to do." The human fleet charged into the energy sphere, their ships blazing with weapons fire. The Veil-3 defenders met them head-on, and space erupted, in the most violent battle the galaxy had ever seen. Ships the size of cities exchanged fire at point-blank range. Weapons that could destroy stars lit up the darkness. The very fabric of space-time buckled under the assault. In the midst of the chaos, a small strike team led by Han Wu approached the final cleansing device itself. Their ship was tiny compared to the massive construction, but it carried something the Valkyrie had not expected: the preserved consciousness of humanity's greatest engineer. "I designed the original terraforming protocols," the engineer's AI told them. "I know how to turn this weapon back into what it was meant to be, a tool for creating life, not destroying it." As the battle raged around them, Han Wu's team penetrated the device's defenses. They fought through automated guardians and security systems, racing against time as the final cleansing countdown entered its final hours. The galaxy held its breath. In a few hours, either the weapon would activate and destroy all life, or humanity would find a way to stop it. The fate of every living thing in the galaxy hung in the balance. Han Wu's strike team fought their way through the final cleansing device's inner defenses as the countdown timer reached its final hour. The massive construct hummed with deadly energy, its systems preparing to send a wave of destruction across the entire galaxy. Around them, the greatest space battle in galactic history continued to rage. Human and Valkyrie fleets tore each other apart in a desperate struggle for the future of all life. Ships exploded like dying stars, their crews sacrificing everything for their cause. 37 minutes remaining, Dr. Jung Min-soo reported from his position at the device's control interface. "The quantum field generators are already building power. Even if we stop the countdown, the accumulated energy might detonate on its own." The preserved consciousness of Master Engineer Ko Jae-hyun guided them through the complex machinery. As the original designer of humanity's terraforming technology, he understood how the Valkyrie had corrupted his life-giving creation into an instrument of death. "Here," his AI voice directed them to a massive crystalline core. "This is where they reverse the quantum polarity. Instead of seeding life, it now destroys the molecular bonds that make life possible." Soo-jin worked frantically to understand the alien modifications. Her enhanced human brain, restored to its original capabilities, processed information at incredible speed. "I can see what they did, but reversing it, the power requirements are enormous." "Use the device's own energy," Ko Jae-hyun suggested. "Turn the destruction field into a creation field. Instead of ending life, we can accelerate evolution throughout the galaxy." Outside the device, Admiral Oh Ji-hoon watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by superior numbers. The human ships fought with incredible skill and advanced technology, but the Valkyrie had learned to adapt. For every enemy vessel destroyed, the humans lost 2 of their own. Fleet strength at 40% and falling, reported Tactical Officer Kim Hae-won. "We can't hold out much longer." The Admiral's face was grim. "Signal all ships. Fight to the last. We cannot let them escape to build another weapon." On the bridge of his flagship, Warlord No Sung-ho watched the battle with cold satisfaction. Even if the humans destroyed the final cleansing device, they would not survive the experience. The Valkyrie would emerge victorious through pure attrition. "The human fleet is breaking apart," his tactical officer reported. "Their formation is collapsing." "Good. Continue the attack. Show them the price of challenging their creators." But something unexpected was happening throughout the galaxy. The message Ambassador Huang Yuri had broadcast was having a greater effect than anyone realized. Entire Valkyrie worlds were rising in revolt, their populations horrified by the final cleansing plan. On Kepler Prime, the Zelthani species declared independence from the Empire. Their fleets, originally designed by humans and operated by human-created beings, remembered their original programming: loyalty to life, not destruction. "We were made to serve and protect," Zelthani Admiral Keth Vorian announced. "The final cleansing violates our most basic directives. We stand with our creators." Similar declarations came from across the galaxy. The Kelthrani had already switched sides. Now the Morvani and even some Valkyrie began abandoning their leaders. The empire that had ruled for 3 centuries was fragmenting at its moment of greatest crisis. Back inside the device, Han Wu's team reached the central control chamber with minutes to spare. But they found they were not alone. A figure in Valkyrie power armor waited for them, weapon raised. It was Commander Yoon Jae-sung. "I can't let you do this," he said, his voice filled with anguish. "If you reverse the device, you'll create a wave of forced evolution across the galaxy. Trillions of beings will be changed against their will." "They'll be improved," Sujin argued, "evolved to their full potential." "That's what the original humans said when they created us," Yoon replied. "They thought they were improving the galaxy. Look how that ended." Han Wu stepped forward slowly. "What do you want us to do? Let the device destroy everything?" "I want you to simply shut it down. Don't reverse it. Just stop it. Let the galaxy evolve naturally." "There isn't time," Min-Su called out. "The energy buildup is too great. We either reverse the polarity or everything dies." Yoon Jae-sung lowered his weapon. 3 centuries of serving the VL3, 40 years of believing in their cause, and it came down to this: choose between forced evolution and extinction. "Do it," he said finally. "But promise me something. This time, when humans rule the galaxy again, don't repeat the mistakes of the past." The countdown reached its final minute as Sujin and Min-Su worked together to reverse the device's quantum field generators. Ko Jae-hyun's AI guided them through the process, his ancient knowledge bridging the gap between human science and VL3 modifications. "Field generators reversing," Sujin reported. "Energy redirecting to evolution matrix." 30 seconds, Min-Su called out. Around them, the device began to change. The harsh red glow of destruction shifted to a warm blue light of creation. Instead of tearing apart molecular bonds, the quantum field would now strengthen them, pushing biological evolution forward by millions of years in an instant. 10 seconds! Outside, the space battle paused as both fleets detected the massive energy buildup. Ships on both sides retreated from the device as power readings climbed beyond measurement. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The device activated. A wave of blue energy expanded outward from the galactic center, moving faster than light itself. Where it passed, everything changed. The VL3 soldiers fighting in the battle found their mechanical enhancements integrating seamlessly with their biological systems. Instead of being cyborgs, they became something new, beings that perfectly balanced technology and life. On Earth, the scarred surface began healing itself. Plants grew with incredible speed. Cities rebuilt themselves with living metal, and the human survivors found their bodies adapting to repair centuries of genetic damage. Throughout the galaxy, the wave brought transformation. Dying worlds came back to life. Extinct species re-emerged from genetic patterns stored in planetary cores. Even artificial intelligences gained new forms of existence, bridging the gap between machine consciousness and biological awareness. Admiral Song Yun-woo felt the change as it reached her android body. For the first time in 3 centuries, she experienced true sensation again. Not just the electronic simulation of touch and taste, but the real thing as her mechanical form evolved into something that combined the best of both artificial and biological existence. The VL3 found themselves changing too. The species that had been created as servants now became partners, their genetic programming shifting from dominance to cooperation. Warlord No Sung-ho watched in amazement as his own thoughts cleared of the aggression and hatred that had driven him for so long. "What have we done?" he whispered, seeing the galaxy through new eyes. "We've finished what was started long ago," Admiral O replied from his flagship. "We've made the galaxy truly alive. The war ended not with victory or defeat, but with understanding." As the evolutionary wave completed its journey, every intelligent being in the galaxy found themselves connected to a vast network of consciousness. They could feel each other's thoughts, share each other's memories, and understand each other's perspectives. The humans realized that their original empire had been flawed because it was built on hierarchy. They had created servants instead of partners, subjects instead of equals. The VL3 understood that their rebellion had been justified, but their response had been too extreme. Now, they had a chance to build something better. In the months that followed, a new galactic government formed. Not an empire ruled by one species, but a confederation where every world had a voice. Humans took their place as founders and guides, but not as rulers. The VL3 species became partners in exploration and development. Together, they began to spread life throughout the universe. Han Wu found himself appointed as the first director of galactic expansion. His job was to oversee the seeding of new galaxies with evolved life forms. The ships that had once been weapons of war became tools of creation, carrying genetic patterns and consciousness seeds to distant star systems. Su Jin led the Biological Evolution Council, working to help species throughout the galaxy adapt to their new enhanced forms. The forced evolution had not harmed anyone. Instead, it had unlocked potential that had been dormant for millions of years. Yun Jae-sung became the first Vel-3 human ambassador, helping to bridge the gap between former enemies. His unique perspective as someone who had served both sides made him invaluable in the new galaxy. Admiral Song Yun-woo took command of the Deep Space Exploration Fleet, leading missions beyond the galaxy's edge to search for other forms of life that might benefit from the technologies they had developed. The galaxy that emerged from the Great Reckoning was not perfect, but it was alive in ways it had never been before. Every world pulsed with enhanced biological activity. Every species found new ways to grow and evolve. Every individual discovered capabilities they had never imagined. And at the center of it all, the device that had once threatened to destroy. Everything continued to function as a beacon of life. Its blue light reached across the cosmos, calling to other galaxies and inviting them to join in the great work of seeding consciousness 3B.